Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Comic Book Users. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Cover. Today we're going to look at a sequel to an episode we did, probably a little over a year ago, where we took a look at a key issue in the early run of the Avengers, which was issue number 19, which was the debut, the first ever appearance of the Swordsman. Well, I've since gotten the sequel to that, the follow-up to that, issue number 20 of the Avengers, Vengeance is Ours, and this continues the saga, the battle against the Swordsman. As you can see here, Cap is flying off the top of a building where he was being held prisoner by the Swordsman. And in the last issue, issue number 19, it looks like Cap threw himself off as opposed to being thrown off by the Swordsman. Of course, the Swordsman tried to trick the Avengers into thinking he was going to be a great ally, and then he actually turned on them, right? Because he was interested in infiltrating and then defeating the Avengers. So this kind of takes off from here. So this is from 1965, okay, written by Stan Lee, drawn by Don Heck, inked by Wallace Wood, or Wally Wood. Make a really good team here. So, it's interesting. And it says on the cover, it says, "Special note to art lovers, wait till you see wonderful Wally Wood's inking of Don's drawings in this great issue." So, of course, both Don Heck and Wally Wood, very famous artists back from Marvel back in this time period. But Don Heck, maybe for some not considered one of the upper echelon artists of the time. Maybe some of you do, maybe some don't. I always thought he was very serviceable, very solid, maybe not one of the best, but I think paired off with Wally Wood, who also has a really nice flair, I think they work really well together here, so as you'll see as we go through here. Wally Wood, Don Heck, the artist team, and then lettering by Artie Simic. So here, we've got Vengeance is Ours. Of course, the Swordsman is thinking, the fool, why did he do it? Why did he push himself off? Hawkeye says we're too late. Of course, the team of the Avengers is Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, and Captain America at this point in time. We're too late. The Swordsman pushed him. Oh, no, he didn't. I saw it. Cap jumped. And then he goes, he did it for us so that we wouldn't surrender, but he still has a chance if we move fast enough. Of course, Quicksilver is saying that because, if we move fast enough, and who's the guy who can move fast enough? Why, Mr. Quicksilver, of course, right? So, So here he goes. And he does his thing. He grabs like a piece of railing or antenna there, actually, and he goes underneath Cap, and he starts doing this kind of whole whirlwind thing to kind of keep the air moving up, so it kind of breaks his fall a little bit. As he does that, Hawkeye then sends an arrow flying that breaks the rope that's tying Cap, and then the Scarlet Witch does a hex, and she makes some rivets come out of a beam there in that building. The beam starts to tilt over. It's in Cap's direction. He grabs it, helps to reposition himself, flips himself around. He lands safely. All right, and then of course you've got Hawkeye again with another arrow. It's got a plunger on the end, because of course he's carrying that around in his little thing there on his back, right? Because he's got everything, and then Cap just kind of flies down. The Swordsman is sitting up there, and he basically says, they're far more dangerous than I thought. Individually, each one is an enemy to be respected, but as a team, they're practically unbeatable. Meanwhile, during all this, you get, of course, the guys, because of course Quicksilver and Hawkeye kind of are both vying to be the leader of the team, and they have doubts about Captain America's ability as a team leader. So here the Swordsman starts to do some stuff to see what he can do to thwart the team. All right, using that mighty sword of his, and then of course Quicksilver, keep getting all the names mixed up here, goes flying by him. And then he takes one of the floorboards, bends it to go up against him. All right, and while we're at it, might as well take a look at some cool triumphs from Marvel. Early issues of Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and Tales of Suspense. I love those old ads. So here, the battle continues. Captain America gets back into the fray, and of course Cap is like, leave him for me, I'm going to take over from here. And of course the other two guys are like, well, why? We're working well as a team. Why do you got to interject yourself, so to speak? So they corner him, and he's in the middle there. All of a sudden they notice he starts to disappear, And there he goes. So he basically says, something's happened to me. I feel strange, as though I'm losing control. No, you don't. No trick will save you now. All of you, stay back. Whatever he tries, I'll handle it. It isn't a trick. He's in shock. Look at his face. He's turning pale. Something is wrong. Look, before our eyes, he's vanishing. And Hawkeye says, it isn't possible. His only magic lies in his swordsmanship. And then the swordsman says, this isn't my doing. It must be one of you. And then he disappears. All right. So then, of course, they're all left standing there. What's going on, right? Oops, I don't want to give out the other page yet. I want to read some of this here. It looks like we were robbed, or it looks like you were robbed of your victory, Cap. The swordsman escaped us. He goes, escaped? I wonder, did he vanish willingly? And Scarlet Witch, how did it happen? Surely none of us had the power. And then Hawkeye says, it's your fault, Winghead. If you had let us all attack him. And then Quicksilver says, I agree with Hawkeye. We're supposed to work as a team, and that means all of us. Pietro, Hawkeye, this is no time for us to squabble this way. We have to learn what happened to the swordsman. What's the difference? If we do find him, Cap will probably blow the bit again. Quiet, all of you. You've said enough. If it's a battle you want, Hawkeye, it would be a pleasure, you shield-slinging square, but I don't pick fights with older men. I love the dynamic between Hawkeye and Captain America early on here in this run, because they're just constantly at each other because Hawkeye is just such a hothead. You're both too hot-tempered. That's why I, Quicksilver, should be the leader. Without another word, Captain America turns on his heel and heads for Avengers headquarters, followed by the others. None of them are noticing the evil pair of eyes that have watched the entire incident, although their owner is half a world away. So then, of course, the swordsman winds up in this place and wondering where he is. And then, of course, you see the hand with the rings, and then the appearance of the Mandarin. So, of course, that is the one who's behind bringing him here. Enter, swordsman. I give you leave to stand in the presence of true greatness. Who are you, mister? And what's all this hocus-pocus malarkey about? Men call me the Mandarin, and you will soon learn that this is far more than the malarkey that you speak of. The Mandarin, I always thought of you as a legend, an old wives' tale. That is as I wished it. It is not yet time for the world to be aware of me or of my plan to complete domination of this unsuspecting planet. Of course, typical jargon there from one of the great supervillains of the 60s in Marvel Comics, right? So basically, he talks about his whole plan, which is really to defeat Iron Man, who, of course, is his nemesis at the time. So Mandarin, up to this point, we had basically only seen him, I believe, in Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk. So this is kind of one of his first appearances outside of that. So he basically has a plan to have the swordsman infiltrate the Avengers once again. So what he's going to do is he's going to take that sword from him and he's going to add some super-powered things to it, right, which are utilizing the technology that are in his ring so that he can do additional things with the sword. And what he is going to do, I will reveal in just a few minutes. So here, but of course the swordsman is like not wanting to take orders from anybody, so he's got to be subdued by the Mandarin while he goes to work on the sword. So then we cue back to Avengers headquarters, and of course there is more back and forth arguing between the guys. Cap says to the crew, I don't like to air my dirty linen in public, but now that we're behind locked doors where we can't be overheard, if you have any complaints to make about my leadership. Leadership? Ha! What leadership? Don't listen to him, Cap. He's spoiling for a fight, says Wanda. Stay out of this, Wanda. It's between Hawkeye and myself. You're blamed right, it is. I'm sick of the way you try to push your weight around all the time. Do you read me? Loud and clear, Featherbrain, and get your finger out of my face before you lose it. Right, so there, that's that right there. That little diatribe right there. And then Quicksilver comes in. Have a care, Hawkeye. If Captain America's leadership is to be challenged, perhaps someone more capable than you should do it. If you're referring to yourself, don't make me laugh. Take away that crummy speed and what have you got? And Cap says to himself, I won't try to stop them yet. It's time they had a chance to uncork their frustrations and hostilities. So they decide to go into a little competition here to see what's faster, Hawkeye's arrow or Quicksilver's speed. And they basically do that. And then who winds up winning? But Quicksilver wins it by a hair. Of course, Wanda's all happy about that now, right? Hawkeye's kind of a little pissed off about it, but what are you going to do? The cue back to Mandarin, a little Mandarin lair, all right? So finally, Swordsman says, all right, I've come to my senses. I'm interested in what you have to say. So the Mandarin shows him the sword now that he's worked on it. He puts a couple little buttons on the, what is that called, the hilt of the sword. And when you press one button, flames shoot out of it, or electricity or some nonsense like that, right? So, of course, it's got all these additional powers. So the swordsman's saying, all right, I guess I will work with you. Let's hear what you have to say. So basically, they go down into another room here, where he's got doing all the scientific stuff, and he shows he's got like almost like a hologram or life model decoy of Iron Man. So the plan is that he is going to send this apparition of Iron Man to Avengers headquarters to say that basically, hey, I'm the one who sent the Swordsman to you. He's okay, right? It was just a test to see how you guys kind of were able to deal with his powers and all that kind of stuff. But he's been vetted by me. Everything is okay. He's going to come back to headquarters. Let him in. Let him join the ranks. I'm vouching for him, type of thing. So that's basically what happens here. But of course, they notice like Iron Man doesn't really sound like Iron Man. What's going on. So then on the next page here, he basically says, in concerns of Swordsman, he must be accepted for membership. I personally sent him there. Blah blah blah. Right. So, but all the time they're kind of like, something just doesn't seem right here, right? So the Mandarin is able to then transport the Swordsman to Avengers headquarters, where they confront him and they're like, all right, we just went through all this. We were battling for the last couple days, but apparently, Iron Man set you up to be a member here. Iron Man's not a current member. He's an honorary member of the Avengers, but he's not with us right now. But we'll take his word for it because he's a founding member and all that sort of thing. But Cap is very untrusting, so he's like, all right, well, let me go give you a tour of the mansion, Avengers Mansion. But Swordsman's like, yeah, I think he's suspicious, so I'll have to play this out really well. So then they go doing some training, right? Then he's getting to know them a little bit, but of course he notices the beauty of the Scarlet Witch. He goes, I don't really want to hurt her, right? All this kind of stuff. In the middle of the night, the Mandarin comes to him in his room while he's sleeping, and basically, don't be alarmed. This is merely a projected image of myself. I don't care what you call it. I don't like uninvited guests in the middle of the night, the Swordsman says. And he basically says, he goes, well, plans have changed a little bit. We're not going to wait for Iron Man to come back. We're going to take them down now. And it's like, and so the Swordsman's like, but I thought this was all about Iron Man, not about the Avengers. So already he's kind of having second thoughts about this. He's like, well, the Avengers guys aren't so bad, and wouldn't it be cool to be a part of this team, right? So he's really, deep down inside, the Swordsman is not the total asshole like we really want him to believe. But the Mandarin's like, nope, this is what we're doing. You're going to take them down, and that's it. So he's given him like a little bomb that he's got to put into one of the rooms there. So he does that in the middle of the night. He gets dressed, and then, of course, Cap hears something going on, and Cap goes and confronts him, and he throws the sword, and now all of a sudden the rest of the Avengers come down. So the Swordsman's like, well, let me explain. He's like, he's already feeling like he did the wrong thing here, but now he's got no choice but to battle. So the battle is on once again. Okay. And like I said, I think he knows that he's like, man, this is not really how I wanted this all to turn out. And of course, little by little, he gets overtaken. But he is able to escape. Okay, so in the last panel there, he does escape. And he says, he's on a rooftop. I suspected the Mandarin would try something like that when he realized I betrayed him, right? So the Mandarin actually went and remotely blew up the bomb, right? Because the Swordsman was trying to undo it because he was having second thoughts, and then the Mandarin remotely blew it up in that particular room, so ruined their room. So he goes, I expect the Mandarin would try something like that when he realized I betrayed him. Lucky I threw the whole thing into the air as soon as I heard the mechanism begin to throb. Oh, no, so he didn't. Okay, I'm sorry. So he actually did not. He actually grabbed the bomb, and that's when he escaped. He threw it up on top of the rooftop, okay? I'm trying to remember because I read this a couple days ago. What started the fire? Oh, that was basically the flames coming from the Swordsman's sword. All right. Just go back here. Yeah, so all is not lost in Avengers Mansion. Okay, so yeah, that's right. It's the explosion was from the outside. Sorry, that's screwed up here. The bomb he carried, do you think it got him? Let's hope so, Wanda, for our sakes, and we never see him again. But again, he says, lucky I threw the whole thing into the air as soon as I heard the mechanism begin to throb, and now it's over. The Avengers will be out to get me, and the Mandarin too. Too bad it had to end this way. There's something about being an Avenger, even a bogus one, that seems to get into your blood and never let go. So right there, he's like, oh, crap, I would really like to do this. And then back in the Orient, never again will I take a partner. I failed because of the Swordsman. To avenge my honor, he too must be destroyed. Right, so if you kind of suspect we'll be seeing some more of the Swordsman from time to time, we must admit there's a chance that you're right. As for Mandarin, he's harder to forget than a bee sting. So join us again next issue when we'll have a whole flock of surprises waiting for you. All that slightly sensational Lee Heck magic. Till then, face front and be good to each other. Right, so let's go through the rest of the comic here. Additional stuff. Sergeant Fury, Howling Commandos, Thor, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. Record wide, 60 smash songs, $2.98. There you go. So issue number 20 of the Avengers, Vengeance is Ours, the kind of the end of, at the time, the saga with the Swordsman, as we, of course, have seen in plenty of other issues. He does come back, fights them again, and eventually he does become an Avenger for a little bit. He starts up a romantic relationship with Mantis, right? So there's lots of additional storylines ahead for the Swordsman, and of course the Mandarin, as we know, has become one of the most iconic villains in Marvel Comics history. So, but yeah, let us know what you think of Avengers number 20 in the comments below, and otherwise we'll see you real soon on Comic Book Geezers. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get an alert of all of our content as it posts. And stay tuned, we got more episodes coming up this week with Wild Bill and myself, so stay tuned for that. And please hit that like button before you leave. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm Pete Pardo from Comic Book Geezers. Stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.